Before anything existed, there was everything. Not emptiness, not void, not even darkness. An infinite ocean called none, where nothing lived, nothing died, and nothing had form. Just eternal, motionless water stretching in every direction, with no up, no down, no beginning, no end. You might think nothingness would be peaceful, but here's what the ancient Egyptians knew that we've forgotten. Chaos isn't the absence of things, it's the presence of infinite possibility. And from that terrifying potential, a god would will himself into existence. Picture none as the ultimate paradox. These weren't waters you could sail on or swim through. They were before wetness itself had meaning. The Egyptians called it the primeval abyss, a state where everything that could ever be already existed, just waiting to take shape. No light pierced these waters because light hadn't been invented yet. No sound echoed because there were no boundaries for sound to bounce from. This was pure, undifferentiated potential, and it contained the blueprint for everything: gods, humans, stars, and stones. All of it sleeping in the deep. But none wasn't just waiting passively. The waters held Heka, magic, the fundamental force of creation itself. This wasn't the magic of tricks or illusions. This was the raw power to transform thought into reality, to speak existence into being. And within these waters, consciousness began to stir. The first thought in the universe, thought itself. His name was Atum, which means the complete one. But here's the paradox that makes Egyptian mythology brilliant. Atum created himself. He was both the sculptor and the sculpture, the thought and the thinker. Imagine willing yourself into existence from absolute nothingness. The Egyptians described it like this. Atum rose from noon on a mound of earth called the Benben, the first solid ground in all of creation. Some texts say he emerged as a Bennu bird, a phoenix-like creature that would become the symbol of rebirth and renewal. But Atum faced an impossible problem. He was utterly, completely alone, the only conscious being in an infinite ocean. To create the universe, he needed to multiply himself, but there was no one else to help him create. So Atum did something audacious. He masturbated, and from his own body, through his own fluids, he brought forth the first pair of gods. Others say he sneezed or spat them out. The method varied, but the meaning stayed constant. Creation required sacrifice, transformation, giving up part of yourself to make something new. From Atum came Shu, the god of air and breath, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture and order. With these two, existence finally had structure. Air separated the waters. Moisture gave them form. The universe took its first breath. Now here's where it gets complex. Beautifully, mysteriously complex. Atum didn't stay alone in his identity. As creation progressed and the sun rose for the first time, Atum merged with Ra, becoming Atum Ra, or simply Ra. The creator god became the sun god, and suddenly creation wasn't a single event, it was a daily renewal. Every sunrise was the universe being born again. Every sunset was chaos threatening to return. Ra traveled through the sky in his solar bark, his boat, bringing light and order to the world. But at night, he descended into the underworld, the Duat, where he battled Apophis, a massive serpent that embodied chaos, the remnant of none trying to uncreate everything. This is why the sun rising wasn't guaranteed in Egyptian thought. It required daily struggle, daily renewal, daily victory over the forces that wanted to drag everything back into formless waters. You can see this in their temple rituals. Priests performed ceremonies at dawn to help Ra defeat Apophis, to ensure the sun would rise again. The Egyptians understood something profound. Order isn't permanent. It's achieved every single day through effort and intention.
So, what happened next? Shu and Tefnut didn't stop the process. They gave birth to Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky, creating the space where life could actually exist. Geb lay beneath as the ground, Nut arched above as the heavens, and Shu stood between them, holding his daughter up and keeping them separated. This separation was crucial. If earth and sky collapsed back together, everything would return to none. The cosmos existed in the tension between elements, in the space carved out from chaos. And from Geb and Nut came the Ennead, the 9 great gods of Heliopolis, including Osiris, Isis, Seth, and Nephthys. But here's what makes this creation story different from others you know. The Egyptians never believed chaos was defeated. None still surrounded the entire cosmos like an ocean surrounds an island. Every boundary of the universe pressed against those primordial waters. Chaos wasn't the enemy that got destroyed, it was the constant pressure that made order necessary, vital, worth fighting for. Mot became their word for this achieved order: truth, justice, balance, and cosmic harmony. It wasn't a thing you possessed, it was a state you maintained against entropy, against forgetting, against the waters that wanted to reclaim everything.
Think about what the Egyptians were really saying. They looked at the universe and saw it not as a machine wound up and left to run, but as an ongoing act of will. Creation wasn't something that happened once, it's something that keeps happening, moment by moment, as long as consciousness holds chaos at bay. Every temple was a model of that first mound rising from noon. Every morning prayer was a reenactment of creation itself. Every pharaoh was Horus, the son of Osiris, maintaining Ma'at and pushing back against Isfet, chaos, disorder, the waters trying to return. Kingship wasn't just political power, it was cosmic responsibility. And when you died, your soul journeyed through the Duat, that realm where Ra battles Apophis every night, where you faced trials and transformations. If you succeeded, you joined the eternal cycle, becoming part of the daily renewal, the ongoing creation. The Egyptians saw death not as an ending, but as a return to potential, a dive back into the waters of noon, where you could be reformed, reborn, made new. So that's how the Egyptians answered the ultimate question. How did everything begin? Not with a command from outside, but with consciousness awakening within the deep. Not with order imposed by force, but with structure emerging from infinite possibility through the act of separation and naming. From Nun's endless waters rose Atum, willing himself into being. From Atum came Shu and Tefnut, air and moisture, breath and boundaries. And from their union the cosmos unfolded, layer by layer, generation by generation, each god creating space for the next, until finally there was land and sky, sun and stars, life and consciousness. But the story never ended, because every morning Ra rises again. Every day, order reasserts itself. And the primordial waters still surround everything, reminding us that creation isn't something ancient gods did once upon a time. It's what consciousness does every single moment when it transforms chaos into meaning. That's the gift the Egyptians left us. Not just a myth, but a way of seeing the universe as alive, participatory, constantly being renewed through the struggle between form and formlessness. And maybe, just maybe, that's still true today.